ACM convention was in Victoria. Anyone recall? But we had a meeting with the town of View Royal, and I think Emmett was there, and I think there was 2 councillors there, and we were talking about a project that they wanted to apply for. And that conversation, I remember we were talking about some of the ideas and some of the concepts on how to make a project fundable, how to make it better. And from that conversation, carried on a number of different conversations. I'm sure, I think the staff, I think Tara Tompkins in our branch that continued to talk and work with the town of View Royal, and they put in an application. Of course, that's why we're here today, to showcase what they did. And so, never discount those conversations. Anyone who's actually interested or has projects or applications in with our office, by all means, the best thing to do is to give us a call. Ask us questions, and we'd be more than happy to oblige with forthright and honest answers. Maybe you might not like them, but we'll give you straight face. So next slide, please. So just a little schematic. So we've got the strategies, we've got the legislation, we're building partnerships and projects and tools, and ultimately all of these things feed back into the grant programs. Ultimately what we're doing is we're leveraging the grant programs, hopefully making some change on the ground. So next slide, please. So how does this integration actually occur? How do we leverage the change? Well, there's really 3 areas that we look at when we're developing programs to really identify what we're after, and one is eligibility requirements. The other is how we actually evaluate projects, and the third is the conditionality of contracts, so the conditions we place on contracts. So, and this is forever changing, and what a condition is one grant program, the next reiteration it becomes part of the evaluation criteria, and perhaps the next reiteration it's actually the eligibility requirements. So the standard is ever increasing, and that's the term. Today's expectations are moral standards, that we're continually trying to raise the bar. I look at it from the perspective as my job is to ensure that we're spending each dollar efficiently and effectively. And to me that means looking at the long-term viability, the sustainability of infrastructure. It means looking at not only the planning of infrastructure, the implementation and the construction of infrastructure, but also the operation and maintenance of infrastructure. And so it's really a holistic approach. And we use the eligibility requirements, evaluation criteria, and the grant contract conditions to try to achieve that. So next slide, please. So getting to some of the program goals and objectives, like I said, they're based on the principles of sustainability. You really have to look at an integrated, holistic approach to resolve issues, not focusing on the project, but focusing on the interactions that project or that infrastructure has with other components of your community, other pieces of infrastructure, land use planning, for instance. Recognize that sustainable infrastructure doesn't mean building your way out of problems. It's not always an engineering solution that is the solution. Recognizing that the rules and the approaches are changing, so yes, we are trying to encourage innovation, we are trying to encourage change, and manage the resources. And when I say resources, obviously we've got to manage our natural resources, but there's also human resources and financial resources, and all those things have to be embodied into a project application. So next slide, please. So program goals and objectives. I guess fundamentally, and Eric was my mentor and my boss when I started with the ministry, and he started really a philosophical change or a shift in how the programs were administered. And I think when I arrived, I think criticisms that the grant programs, they certainly don't support sustainability. They actually support poor management. The people that neglect their infrastructure, go on boil water advisory, or in non-compliance with the discharge, they're the ones that get the money. And then the people that are doing the right thing, doing their work, doing their job, they don't get the grant approval because their projects are not to protect public health. They're not to protect, or at least immediate public health or immediate environmental protection, because they're doing their job. They're doing it well. And so, the shift, and I think it started with Eric, was that, okay, we've got to change the philosophy to reward good behavior. And that's the direction we're going. So next slide. So just some examples of recent approvals. I think I'll only mention Columbia Shuswap, and that's because I just wanted to highlight that it's not only about the actual infrastructure that's going in the ground. Certainly we want to see innovation on the ground, but we want to see it supported by solid planning and solid leadership. And what the Columbia Shuswap Regional District is doing is they're actually developing a regional water acquisition strategy, and it's an extremely integrated, holistic approach. They're talking about managing not only the development that's going on within their community. So yes, they're going to control new water systems as they are developed within the regional district, but that really ultimately is they're saying they're taking control over land use development within the jurisdiction. Obviously through subdivision standards, deeply entrenched in that is water conservation. They're also looking at how they can take over existing systems. And I mean, I should mention that the actual project itself was somewhat innovative, but this was the piece that really sort of increased the priority as far as we were concerned for approving this project. So there's certainly other examples, and the stars, there's actually stars up in further north as well, but I just didn't have enough time to put stars on the map. And I think I'll end with the next slide, please. And of course, why we're here today, for the success in View Royal. A project that looked at innovation, looked at some long-term planning aspects, particularly with how they're going to deal with transportation, how they're dealing with rainwater management, and ultimately, if the goal is to get grant funding, the best way to do that is to take a sustainable approach. I sometimes stand in front of people and they sort of provide concern about the actual approval process within and the integrity of the programs and political interference. And I've not been around for a long time, but I've been with the ministry since 2001. I'm not going to say that there isn't interference once in a while, but I can honestly say that we're probably in the 90 to 95% range where projects get approved based on their technical merit. And simply put, if you have a great project, it becomes a slam dunk. There's no doubt about it. It's the projects that sort of get down to the middle where there's challenges. So the best advice is to put together the best project you possibly can. Look at it from a holistic view. Ensure that there's integration. Make sure you have innovation. Look at green infrastructure. Look at sustainable principles. And it's easy for us to reward that kind of behavior. So the next slide, please. So I've already been told that this isn't actually the quote from Albert Einstein, so it's already paraphrased. But I think the point is that there is a problem, and I think we have to change how we deal with infrastructure.